Welcome back to the Balance Sheet, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am one of your co-hosts, Billy. This is my co-host, Raj. We are coming to you today on this Sunday evening for us. I am coming from sunny California. Raj is at home per usual, or
Hmm.
at least back from Toronto this time. So lots to cover this week. Lots to cover. We're actually going to foray a little bit into the men's side of wrestling. We've heard some feedback from you guys. We think it's appropriate. In case you haven't heard, and if you haven't, you've been under a rock. But Saturday night was John Cena's last match ever. And WWE made a big old event of it. There was a women's match on the card. We got Bailey versus Sol Ruca, which we will cover. And we are going to talk a little bit about John Cena, some controversy around the decision to have him lose his final match amongst the people in attendance, for sure. Found it controversial, not happy. Um, we maybe have a different opinion. And X seems to be pretty unhappy that he lost as well. So we'll go through that. Um, First, though, we have some really cool things that have happened outside of the world of WWE this week. We have the first ever inaugural women's AEW Tag Champions, and we got another really good Rev Pro title defense from Mercedes Moné. So let's start with AEW, Raj. Babes of Wrath, your new tag team champions, your first ever tag team champions. What do you think?
Before I get to that, I want to say for this episode only, my name, I'm going to be the Doctor of Joshinomics. So I am not, King Ajar Raja this episode in honor of John Cena's retirement. I am the Doctor of Joshinomics. So, the Babes of Wrath, they beat Mina and Tony. What is Mina and Tony's name? The tag name. It
Oh
just
God. Um, you know,
wow.
I'll look it up. Tell me what you thought of the
Okay.
match.
I thought the right winner won the match. Uh, I'm going to be honest here. As a team, Mina and Tony do nothing for me. I don't think they have great in-ring chemistry as a team. I think their gimmick is a little tired for me. They're kind of best friends, lover kind of gimmick. I like Harley and Willow a lot. I like their charisma. I like their look. I like how they interact with each other. I like the name, Babes of Wrath. You can call it
Timeless love bombs, by the way.
Timeless
Sorry.
Love Bombs. You can call it Bow, right? Like you could even short form the Babes of Wrath to Bow. I think that they are the right duo to win this belt because, again, I'm going to go back to WWE. The first tag belts in WWE of the modern era was the Boston Hug Connection. And I thought that they were the right first champion because they are good enough with charisma, with their look, and in terms of how they are as a team to kind of prop up the division. And I think Harley and Willow have the perfect kind of synergy as a team, which is Harley gets beat up, a la Alexa Bliss. Willow comes in, hot tag. They have two really cool finishing moves. And the most important thing, and I think when we get to our later segments, we're going to talk about this crowd. In the modern era of wrestling, I don't know if the story is as important as what the crowd thinks. And the crowd loves these two. They got a
Yep.
huge pop when they won. They got a huge pop when they won the matches leading up to this. So I think Tony picked the right duo. I believe it's a pivot. I think the Timeless Love Bombs are supposed to win this tournament. And I think Tony smartly saw that they weren't as hot as he assumed they would be, and that, the Babes of Wrath are getting traction, getting momentum, merchandise. And I think AEW needs a feel good woman's story, not a a character like Tony Storm that everybody feels good about watching, but Tony has a lot of it's not necessarily all the way age appropriate stuff. Mercedes
Yeah.
is obviously a very serious heel. She's a dominant heel. Megan, Marina, I think the Babes of Wrath are cool. I think that people are going to get behind them. I equate it to the Rock and Roll Express. No, anybody who listens to this, I'm not saying they're as good. Okay, I just want to be careful here. I mean, they're not as good. But I think in wrestling, sometimes you need a fun act. Harley and Willow, they make you feel good. Like you watch them, you kind of get a sense of, hey, they're happy. They make us happy. So for me, I didn't think much of the match. I thought the match was okay, but I thought the winner was correct. I thought the crowd proved that the winner was correct because they popped very hard. And I look for these two to have a nice run and a dominant heel team, and I don't know who that is yet, will come and beat them as they should. And so that's my opinion.
No, I, you know, we try. It's funny is if you don't know, Raj and I will message each other all week. We'll talk about topics. We'll talk about football. We'll talk about basketball. We don't overly give our opinions too thoroughly through text so that we can bounce off of each other. But basically, everything you covered there is exactly how I feel. And um, I think Tony did pivot. We can't prove he did, but if he did, that's a great sign of growth because most reporting out there is like he picks a champion like a year out, year and a half out, and he's going to get there come hell or high water. So, um, I just think Babes of Wrath have had significantly more juice than Timeless Love Bombs have had. I don't want to turn this into like a negative. It's going to sound negative, but Mina has a chaotic energy with how she wrestles, and Tony has kind of a chaotic energy with how she wrestles. On a team, it's not working for me. Um, I think both of them would be better, like the in-ring product. The promos and everything are cool, fun. It's Tony, it's Mina, it works. But the in-ring, the chemistry, it doesn't work because they're both kind of agents of chaos.
Mhm.
Um, and I would like a straight woman, basically, no pun intended, because of it sounds funny to say that considering the story behind them. But what I mean is, I would like a more serious grappler paired with one of them. Would make them both kind of a better tag team wrestler. And the reason I say that is Harley falls into the chaos wrestler too. Willow is a very, very good wrestler. She could be a base for anyone. She's a great hot tag. She's very athletic. She's got big, showy moves. I think she can carry matches. And I think that if they do the gimmick that I think they're going to do with these titles, where like an ROH tag team can just show up one day, or a CMLL tag team can just show up one day, or Maya and Hyan can just show up one day and they have to do a nice, tight 9-minute match. I think Willow and Harley are going to be much better for that, which I think is very important for. I'm not advocating 9-minute matches, but what I'm saying is a TV match that's crisp, has some fun, has some good work, and gets to the right result. Um, because I want these belts to be super active. And so I think that it's a really, really good choice by Tony. Um, you know, Willow and Harley are one of those things that once you put them together, it just worked. They've already proved that they can have a great match. The best match of the tournament was Athena Mercedes versus Babes of Wrath. Shocker, Athena and Mercedes. I get it, but it takes two to tango or four to tango in this instance. So, um, great start, at least for the right first champion. Let's hope that the first championship reign and the way they lose the belts go better than the first WWE championship reign went with the Boston Hug, because that was as incredible of an inaugural win as you can get, and then was not booked properly right away. So, um, speaking of the four women we just talked about, Timeless Love Bombs and Babes of Wrath, will be teaming up. Kind of got a big card coming up. I think it's going to be in Manchester for AEW Dynamite. Um, and we have an 8-women tag match. Those four were in the ring celebrating, kind of showing, it's all good. Mercedes Monet came out, kind of said, you can't have championships, celebrations without me. And they said, well, you got no friends. And so, we'll fight you, basically set up a match and you got to find some friends. So, we're gonna get Mercedes, Athena, Megan Bain, Marina Shafir versus those four women on Wednesday. Well, what did you think of that segment, and what are your thoughts about what we could get out of that match?
I'm glad that this match is happening. This is going to be a huge crowd, about 11,000 people. It'll be more by the time we get to the bell. So I do think the more women you can get on a show like this with a big audience, with a hot crowd is great. I like Mercedes coming out and interrupting. That's what an arrogant heel does. It's like, hey, I'm the boss. I do what I want and I demand this. I'd like to see them give her character a little bit more depth. And what I mean is, so she has no friends. That was obvious in the promo that they cut against her. So why doesn't she, being the rich woman, go around and buy friends? Like, I'd
Yeah,
like to see her with a wad of money and literally like almost saying, "Hey, this is my money or my Monet. Here, Athena, boom. Marina, because Marina's like that character, kind of like a hit woman. And so to me, I think that I would like to see little touches like that. I thought Mercedes came out and cut a really good heel promo.
I liked it a lot.
I was very happy with it, and honestly, I've been very happy with the direction her character is going in the crash out. Like I think we're getting like even when she was talking there, she sounded delusional. Like she sounded like somebody who is not sure of themselves, right? So right now, what I'm excited about is who's going to be her next opponent. Is it going to be in that match? Is a Marina Shafir going to clock her from behind or something and set up something? Is it going to be Megan Bain? Is it going to be Athena? Is it going to be Tony? Is it going to be Mina? Like I don't want it to be Mina or Tony unless she's going to beat Tony to get kind of her
I
win.
saw that idea on X. I, so the eight women match, you nailed the most important part. They're getting to perform in front of a huge, almost pay-per-view level crowd. So
Mhm.
I love that. I hope we get some good graps from it. I hope that there's a well-structured, fun match there with some good moments. And I think we're getting two matches booked for World's End from it. But what's fun about it is we don't know who, right? He could go Mercedes Athena versus Willow and Harley. I hope he doesn't because that would mean that the TBS title is not going to be defended. He could go Megan Marina Shafir versus Babes of Wrath. And then to your point, if Mercedes were to, um, you know, end up in another match with Tony and maybe get her win back, that certainly would be a good match on that card. It could be Athena, and maybe Athena beats her. I don't know. Probably not with very little build, but yeah, there's a bunch of things there. No offense to Mina, but anyone but Mina. Um, Here's my thing. If Mina and her are going to wrestle again, Mina has to win, and it should be something that's built up to with better storytelling about how kind of she has been the fly in Mina's ointment in 2025. Other than that, they've already wrestled on pay-per-view over the last 2 months. So yeah,
I
that's the
do
one
not want to
combo I would
see.
love to stay away from.
Yeah, I don't want to see Mercedes and Mina. I'm tired of that match. I gotta be honest. I want to see something fresh with the TBS title. I think that they have a lot of options in AEW. I think they have a lot of options in Ring of Honor. Like, why can't Red Velvet say, "Hey, I want the TBS title. I beat you." Like I beat you. Why
Yeah.
why don't I get a match for that? I'd like to see anything because the Red Velvet Mercedes matches have excited me, so I would be okay with seeing another one. Nina and Mercedes at this point, I'm good. Like, I think they got the best that they could get out of that pairing in Japan. And I don't know if, like, and again, I'm not trying to be critical here, but Mercedes is really, really good in the ring, and I'd like to see her wrestle different opponents. Like, I don't want them to always rehash to go back to safe. So,
The Mina match, the last one, they put together as compelling of a match as the two of them possibly could, and it still didn't register just because of where those two are at
yeah,
currently.
because
So
nobody expected Mina to win it. So I'm excited for this. I think that AEW, um, And look, we're talking about AEW here. I am very excited for World's End, because if I were to rank my favorite AEW women's wrestlers, everybody knows number one is I don't have to repeat that. But number two and three are fighting each other at World's End,
Yep.
right? Which is Chris Statlander defending her title against Jamie Hayter. And I think Jamie Hayter has the potential to be a monster good heel. Like I
Yep.
think she can be one of the best heels in that company. And I'm a fan. I'm a huge Jamie Hayter fan. I have been. I think her match with Mercedes is the match of Mercedes is this year that resonated with me the best, because I thought the crowd was great in that match, and I genuinely didn't know if Mercedes was going to win because it was not for a TBS title, it was for a tournament. So I'm excited for World's End. What are your thoughts about that?
No, I love it. If we have any listeners that don't really watch AEW that much, you know, Chris Statlander has had three brilliant matches with Mercedes. Jamie Hayter has had one, as you said, great match with Mercedes. And I only bring up just Mercedes because, you guys know what Mercedes can do in the ring. I'm pretty sure everyone that listens to this does. But Chris Statlander, the athleticism, right? Style, very capable of doing things like a Bianca Belair and a Rhea Ripley can do with a power speed game. Um, and then Jamie Hayter, I don't even know what a good comp for Jamie is. She's kind of a brawler and hellacious clotheslines and a little bit of, I guess, some Bailey, I guess, where she's kind of crafty in the ring and whatnot. And the only reason I'm going through comparisons is just in case people don't know. But this is a very, very good hoss fight, essentially, for women in AEW. Two very powerful women who both have classics. Chris has a couple with Willow, Jamie Hayter. Her best match besides the Mercedes matches versus Sheeta, correct? Yeah, that's the um December 3 years ago. I think they had a great match for the women's AEW title. So Hayter can go for sure. I'm very, very excited. It's fresh. We haven't seen that match. I don't know if ever's right, but certainly not in the last 2 years. I know that. So yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
It's a fresh match in terms of you have a revamped Chris character and
Yep.
you have a returning Jamie character. And I think with Jamie, they're finally doing stuff with her that I've wanted them to do since she returned. So this is the first non-Mercedes match I'm excited for since Chris Willow in the street fight. Like I'm
Yeah.
super excited to get this match.
Probably Tony and Mariah. You were excited
Yeah,
for.
yeah, okay, Tony and Mariah. I forget sometimes Mariah was even in AEW the way
It's
they
been so long, right?
the way they talk.
Stuff
Yeah,
moves quick.
but you know what though? I think you would agree with this. I think Tony Mariah, we were excited for, and I'm speaking for me here, I shouldn't speak for you, because of the story. They had so much depth, layers. They got to this finale, and we didn't know what that was. What's the Hollywood ending? But for a pure wrestling match, I am more excited for this one. Because I think if they let them go and they give them like 15 to 20 minutes, I think it'd be a really good match.
You and I talk about all the time that this isn't the episode we're going to go into rating matches. That's, we'll have our year end and everything, but um 5-star matches don't generally happen out of nowhere. They need the booking and the history leading up to it, right? Because you want the hot crowd, you want to give the performers a base to tell a good story in the ring. Um, the year is coming to an end. We had a really, really great match today that I really enjoyed. I'm not saying it's going to finish in the top five for the year, but it was a really, really good match. Um, and this is a match that it could finish in the top 10, right? They're capable, so it's definitely going to be must see TV. And I can speak for both of us at the balance sheet that we will give Tony um, plenty of props if he can land this card with a good TBS title match and a good women's AEW tag title match, and all three on this upcoming pay-per-view. That would be a great representation of where this division's at.
I mean, if you look at last year, going into November of last year, I thought, Mercedes specifically cooled off after the Stephanie match because the Britt match, I mean, she had a really good match with Momo that I saw, but then she reeled off classics, right? She did the Chris match, which blew everybody away. And as great as that match was, I thought the best match of last year was the match with Hazuki, right? And then as great as that was, and I still think it was better, but then she did Chris Part 2, which was phenomenal. So like
Right.
it is possible that in the last month of the year, somebody could reel off a great match because, going into last year at the end of the year, I didn't know if Mercedes would have a top five match for me after, going into October, but then she probably had three of seven because of that, because of
Yeah.
how hot she got. So I think that Chris is capable and Jamie are capable that if they go out there and they say, yeah, we want to, like you said, they just want to, it's a hoss fight, right? Like they're just going to beat each
Yeah.
other up. And I think it's going to be great. So, well, speaking of, you just talked about it. So let's go right into it. We're on a little bit of a lot to cover this week. So Rev Pro, Mercedes Monet, defended now she defended four titles, right? Like when did that change? Because I thought going in she was defending one title and then they changed it to four titles.
They did. She right before the match was announced, they were in the ring. She leans over and she speaks to the ring announcer and says, "I want to put my EWA and Discovery Championship also on the line." And this was brilliant. Whether Mercedes or Andy Quildon, I think it is, who owns Rev Pro, whoever came up with this, you got the crew on tilt already. You got Mercedes fans ready for her to just drop belts like
Hmm.
Sonic drops rings. You know what I'm saying? And it gave this. I watched it live. It gave this eerie feeling of like, oh crap, man, she doesn't have that many. She can't make a date in Scotland for Discovery. She can't make another date in Austria. Of course, they're gonna have. Oh my gosh, Rio is one of the most decorated women in Europe. Of course, she's going to be the one to pick up, four belts. Um, so I thought it added crazy drama and stakes to the match.
Yeah, it gave the match a sense of urgency that I didn't think it had going in. Now the truth is, when it comes to Mercedes and these independent dates that she has, I'm not following the story, I'm following the match. So for me, it's like, okay, she's wrestling this new opponent. I haven't really watched this opponent that much. I'm excited to see what she comes out with, right? Like, what is she going to deliver with this person? Before going into this match, this was a match that everybody was going to rave about, right? Like, everybody was like, oh, you got to see this Rio person. She's amazing. She's this, she's that. So I watched a couple of matches. I'm like, yeah, she's super, super physical, super athletic. This should be good for Mercedes. Um, and then when they announced that, I'm like I wasn't listening to the sound at first, and then I was looking on my timeline, and a couple of listeners of our show was like, "Oh, she's gonna drop all the titles." Because, as soon as they announce anything like that right before a match starts, usually that's a sign that they're going to drop belts. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, we're going to get the downfall of Mercedes quick. Like it's going to be she loses these belts, she goes to England on Wednesday, they make fun of her about it, and then somebody in that match goats her into a TBS title match, and then she's even going to lose that. Like I was like, wow, in a month she might not have any belts. And yet she did win this match. So I thought this match over exceeded my expectations. Now, I will say what I enjoyed about this is that Riho beat the crap out of her. Like I really like Mercedes as a performer all the time, but I really like when she gets beat up because she's really good about selling and make you feel like again, I'm a fan of hers even though she's the heel, so I really shouldn't feel sorry for her. that she's getting beat up, but I don't know if she's even the heel in Rev Pro. Like, I don't know if she's the heel in Rev Pro. So the way they structure the match, I was like, man, Mercedes is getting, tossed. And I thought that there was a sense of physicality in this match that I wasn't expecting. So I thought the match was really good. I think Rev Pro does a great job with presentation. So shout out to them for an independent promotion. They do a really good job of lighting and presentation, and the ring announcer is really good. And I thought the closing 2.5 minutes was fantastic. I thought the way they did that and the way Mercedes was working the shoulder and then kind of pinned her with the shoulder being part of the story was really good. So I really like this match. I don't want to tell you where I'm gonna rank it next week, but I will tell you this. I think to me, as of right now, the Emerson Jane match was my favorite Mercedes Moné independent match. The match she had with the lady in Winnipeg was really, really good. This is in that category. Like this was as good as those matches. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I think Rev Pro is a really good subscription to get if you're a wrestling fan. They put on a good show.
They do. They put on a very good show. Um, the lighting around the ring was a little weird on this one, and they did some good work around the ring. And I was like, it's it was 6 a.m. here, 8 a.m.
Mhm.
here by the time that match came on. But I love their presentation of Mercedes. I love the way that they present all the women there. Um, Similar to the props we've given NXT and ROH. Mercedes main events or semi-main events, and everyone just kind of not only is all about that, but it feels right and it doesn't, so the presentation of the women has been really, really good. I love the match. Mercedes just takes a hellacious clothesline better than just about anyone, doesn't she? Just folds up entirely. And I love the way that they're telling the downfall story because it would be easy to just have her just fall down the mountain immediately. But the edge it's going to give every one of her matches as this goes along, I think is going to make um, the watching experience and the crowd involvement just continue to rise, rise, rise. Because one negative you could say about this great, 2 years she's had is there is a little bit of an inevitability about her matches with the TBS title. Like you just knew um, much of the time that she was going to win. The Chris matches, you didn't know if she was going to win, and that's part of why they were so good, right? It was completely reasonable that she might have lost the NJPW match to Hazuki, so that also helped that match. So, I did think she could lose, so I did the thing where I was pacing watching the match. So, I paced during the Persephone match because I thought she could lose that one. So they sucked me in for sure. The last 2 minutes just put that on the screen in Mercedes' wing of the Hall of Fame. When you say what made this woman the best or one of the greatest in-ring performers in the history of wrestling, men or women, the last 2 minutes to me is like a shining example. Um, there's this joke where, men's wrestlers, you got your Hulk Hogan or your John Cena or whatever. They know they're going to win. So they walk up to their opponent and it's like, all right, brother, what's the finish going to be? How are we getting to the finish? When they say what is the finish going to be, when Hulk Hogan says that or John Cena says that, how are we getting to my leg drop? How are we getting to my AA? What's the finish going to be? How are we going to get there? When Mercedes says, what's the finish going to be? That could mean anything,
Mhm.
and it could mean a moneymaker. It could mean a statement maker. It could mean that nobody hits a finisher a la Athena. And in this particular case, they both kicked out of each other's finisher once. And in the last 2 minutes, they traded off getting each other into the finisher a second time, which as a crowd, you're just, if it happens a second time, this match is over. And then Mercedes gets her into this almost like setup for the moneymaker rolls through it, flips her over legs, then puts her body over the top. And then if you didn't catch it, go back and watch it. While the referee's counting two, Mercedes steps on her arms for the three count. So it was like pull her legs back, fold my body over, then put my feet over the top. And so she got like a, you know, this beautiful pinning combination win. And that's just what I love about her, the artistry of what's the finish going to be, because it's rarely ever the same thing, especially when she's in a match that she goes 50-50 with someone that she wants the crowd to think, man, they had her. And that's my favorite type of Mercedes match. So this absolutely met those expectations. It's probably my favorite indie one. I have it right there with Emerson Jane. I do have to watch it again on a bigger screen. I'm visiting family in California. I didn't get to watch it with my setup, but I'll watch it kind of properly to make sure I kind of rank it right for the end of the year. One last thought, then I'll kick it back to you if you have any other thoughts on that match or AEW or Mercedes in general. I don't know how long this run is going to go. And I'm not even talking about the titles. The heater that Mercedes is on, basically since the Momo match that you went to. Now,
Hmm.
there are matches, the middle, not been, nothing bad. She had the one Sheeta match that had a weird finish. And then she's had some TV matches that, they didn't try to do anything special. But pretty much since the Momo match, every match that had a big or somewhat big stage or moment or title involved or a first time match, I mean, she's batting. If it's not 1,000, it's like 750. Like we're talking like Shohei Ohtani, Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth numbers, right? I mean, and I don't know. At some point, we'll look up and we'll be like, holy crap, Mercedes was giving us at least one great match if not two per month for the last 24. I don't know, but it's still going. The streak continues.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. So before I get to that part, let me add to what you're saying about her finish stuff. Wrestling is not real. It's scripted entertainment. It's theater, right? And I think that when I was a kid and when you were younger, I used to love matches where they would win with a small package. Like out of nowhere, right? Like one of my favorite finishes of all time is Macho Man and Dynamite Kid. It's a match, the first ever wrestling classic. It was a tournament in Chicago, Illinois. The winner got $100,000 in a Rolls Royce. That was the gimmick. And there is a Dynamite Kid match, and Sasha and Bailey stole this exact finish. And it was Dynamite Kid came off the top rope with the headbutt. And as he headbutted, Macho Man quickly cradled him over with the small package and got a 1, 2, 3. It was like a shock thing. And Mercedes and Bailey did that when they had the number one contenders match in Washington, which the reason
Yeah,
I bring up Washington, Washington is the same arena that John Cena had his last match in, the Capital One arena. And she did the frog splash and she paused and Bailey quickly rolled her over and caught her with the win. I appreciate any wrestler, it doesn't have to just be Mercedes, who says, you know what, I don't want every single match to follow a pattern, you
yep,
know? And I think that's the one thing she gets to do being away from WWE, which is she is allowed to not have patterned matches because the WWE is a patterned match company. And there's nothing wrong with that because you can have a patterned match like the triple threat at WrestleMania and it could blow everybody's socks off, right? If it's executed.
right.
But I do appreciate that the independent stuff we've gotten from her, she's not winning with the money maker and the statement maker. Like she's winning with a roll up. She's winning with a small package. She's winning with a cradle. Because if it's a real fight, you're not going to always win with the knockout punch. Sometimes you're going to eke one out. And I think that
Yep.
that's what's really good about what she's able to do outside of the WWE because she's probably the producer of these matches, right? Like she's probably the one
Yeah.
who they come into her locker room and then they say, "Hey, how do you want to do this match?" And she's like, "Well, let's do this, let's do this, or I'll call it in the ring." Your second point about the batting average, I think that rather than going like, because to me matches are subjective. Like, I think most of her matches have been really, really good, and I think some of those matches, based on the character she's fighting, etc., it's like it's a match. But I will say this: the degree of difficulty that she has been able to have and still accomplish is really, really hard. Like, it is not easy going into another territory, a wrestler you've never wrestled, a wrestler that you don't even train with, right? Because everybody talks about the like Bianca, Sasha. Everybody's like, oh, that was the first time they hooked up. But let's be real, they're WWE performers. They probably practice something at the performance center, right? Because they're in the same company, and the company is like, hey, there's a chance you guys get main event. Go and practice, see what each other likes. Mercedes doesn't have that kind of time landing in England and then saying, oh, okay, let's practice. So I appreciate the fact that she's having a versatile amount of versatility with their opponents and still able to produce a really damn good match. And um, whether you think it's easier that she has this or harder, it all depends on perspective. Because a lot of people think, well, there's no pressure on her because she's wrestling in a bingo hall and nobody cares. Well, I disagree with that because me personally, I think there's always pressure on her specifically because she walks around, puffs her chest out, says, I'm the best women's wrestler in the world. And a lot of people believe she is, and and she has a right to say that. I think there's always pressure on somebody who says that because if they have a bad match, everybody's going to tell you about it. Like,
Yep.
think about it, right? Like her bad matches get critiqued more than most people's, right? And I'm only
No, men have a bad match and it just doesn't even come out. It just they move on to the next one, right?
I'm not
Like
even talking.
it's
Yeah, I'm gonna take the men stuff out. I'm just talking about women. Like, and I'm being honest here. Like, and everybody knows, like, who I think is the best female wrestler. But like, when that person has a bad match, there is no scrutiny the way when Mercedes has a bad match, right? And that's just the truth. Like, when Mercedes, when Io and Rhea had that really bad match on Raw, where I don't know what it was. It was like they did something on the outside, and it was like a DQ, and I think Bianca might have been the referee. That was not a good match, right? People talked about it for like 2 minutes, and then they moved on with their day. It was like, yeah, it's done. Great, it's a bad match. With
well,
Mercedes, when she has a bad match, I feel like it's like a talking point for like a couple of weeks. So there's always pressure on her to go out there and perform. That's where I'm going.
yeah, and I think that's a great segue. For us to get into some WWE conversation. Um, Not because it's a bad match, but Io had a match this week with Kyrie that was not up to their normal level of a match, and it kind of surprised both of us.
It didn't
Uh,
surprise it didn't surprise me at all, simply because number one, the time that they're going to get on Raw, and honestly, Kyrie is what Kyrie is at this point. Like, I don't think Kyrie's even allowed to go out there and look like she's a capable opponent to
that's
beat him,
fair.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I I I have seen Kyrie and Io wrestle a lot of times in my life. I've seen every single match they've ever had. And there are some matches that legitimately I thought were like the best women's matches of that year, like 2015, 2016, 2017, that era, before Kyrie came to WWE. That match was a WWE TV match. Like that, it didn't
Yeah.
have to be Io and Kyrie. It could have been Io and Maxine Dupree. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
I guess I'm agreeing with your point almost from the sense of it didn't matter because WWE, a lot of their matches are not about the match and it's about the story or the segment or what it drives in. The story for Kyrie is that she's not someone that Io should be worried about losing to
Exactly.
at this point. The pressure on Mercedes being the match with Rio is everything. Right? That's Rio's chance to show good on the world stage. That's Mercedes is going to be critiqued, and Kyrie and Io would have a very good match if given the time that they were that was given on the Rev Pro show, but it's kind of a different way of life going um, in WWE. And that's why one of the most important things that I think we do as women's wrestling fans is advocate for pay-per-view matches, PLE matches, main events, and major card matches like Saturday Night Main Event, because it's going to be so much more touch and go when you get a Raw match, right? It's going to just be more touch and go. That is the thing that's a little different, for fans of AEW, even the, certainly for the men. Geez, too much latitude. Um, the matches on Dynamite are given almost always latitude to be at least a good match, right? Um, but that does up the pressure. And uh, anyway,
I don't know if there's a women's wrestler I could think of in my life who again, when Kyrie Hojo came to WWE, to NXT, if somebody had told me, who do you think is going to be the bigger American wrestling star? Io Shirai or Kyrie Hojo? I would have not blinked an eye and said Kyrie. I just
my
thought she had the baby face, charisma. She
that
does
elbow.
the elbow is one of the most visually appealing finishing moves in professional wrestling history. I mean, it's a move that, people who know who the Macho Man is are like, yeah, it's great, but this is better. I couldn't have been more wrong with how much, in my opinion, Kyrie has just not either A, connected with the American audience or been given the chance to connect. And Io is the complete opposite. Io has hit a ceiling and a plateau I never thought she would hit. And I'm more of an Io fan than a Kyrie fan, even before they both got to WWE. Now it's like exponentially, I think Io's better. But I
In
never,
NXT, Kyrie was probably my favorite non-horsewoman going at that time. If I think back to it, her stuff with Shayna, I
very
was very ready for her to be this epic thing on the main roster.
where I'm frustrated with the Monday night match is that Kyrie is a one half of a women's tag team champion, a
Yep.
women's tag team champion that beat a very dominant team in Charlexa. And Kyrie is the finishing move part of their tag team, right? Like
Yeah.
she does the elbow and that's the pin. I never once watching that match thought Kyrie was gonna win. Not once. There was never a
Right.
shit. I was like, oh yeah, Kyrie's gonna win. I was like, nope, she's gonna lose. Because I understand that Io and Rhea are at a different level for that company. I know that because the guy who got booed out of the country on Saturday night said that Rhea and Io are above everybody else. Okay, great. That's fine. I have no problem with that. My problem is I need you to make your champions somewhat believable as champions. And I understand Asuka is more the muscle of that team and he's the bully. But like, man, Kyrie I thought had such babyface potential. I feel like Kyrie, if she were to fight Maxine Dupree, I would think Maxine would beat her. Like that's how
I
far Kyrie has fallen.
I actually think that Kyrie is very likely to be one of the pelts that end up on Maxine's wall if they have her defend the title a couple times. If I'm being honest, I think if you told me, "Hey, WWE Brass wants Maxine to win a couple matches," I think Kyrie would be at the top of the list. Um, I've been critical of the Maxine thing for the last couple weeks. Uh, Let me lend a big compliment with a slight criticism. I loved the dungeon vignette with Natty. From a Maxine Dupree standpoint, I loved it because you're building a case for her to be able to go out there and win matches, and it can be like, you know, a fighting champion. I absolutely hated her tapping out Natty in that video. I think Natty should have been a bully to her in that video. I think it would have been better for Natty. I think it would have been better for Maxine. I don't know what you do with Natty. You got the character change, and she's the trainer, and she's tapping out to Maxine. Unless you're going to have Maxine go on like a year-long IC title run. That part I hated, but I like the investment in Maxine's character. But I saw the internet was excited about, Natty was being presented as Natty Neihard and not Natalia, this character that she's done a really great job with outside of WWE. But I just got to say, the character has been great outside of WWE because she's kicking everyone's ass. So I was shocked that she tapped. Did that register with you at all? Did you find that weird?
Yes, because I know what they were trying to do, and it was the reverse. So if you go back and watch Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 12, 60-minute Iron Man match. There was a lot of vignettes where Bret Hart was training in the dungeon with his dad. And every single clip was his dad making him submit. The dad is the trainer. The dad would put him in all these holds and make him tap out and make him submit and make him look really weak. And I was surprised that they went the other way, where they had Natty tap and not have Natty make Maxine tap. And I thought the story they were going to tell is that Maxine has the title, but she's not ready yet for prime time. So, every week she's getting beat up, and then eventually the last video she finally overcomes Natty. But they're already saying, well, she's ready to go. Look what she's doing to Natty. But the problem with that is Natty, I don't have any currency with Natty. I mean, when's the last time she's won a match?
Yeah, well, yeah, you could have built them both up by having Natty be, you know, she's kind of had it. She's up to here. No, no more, no more nice Natalia. She's gonna beat everyone's ass and give her some edge. But now, if she comes out onto TV in this character, I mean, we just saw you tap in a vignette to your student, so it would work if I felt like they were gonna have this IC title run with Maxine be this long important thing where she's got a bunch of defenses, and maybe I'm wrong, but appreciate the investment in her character, continuing to get people behind her and showing her to be a winning wrestler. That's important. I just wouldn't have sacrificed Natty's character change to do it. You could have done the same vignette and have her beat up a bunch of women like she did, and then she's still not ready for Natty. But then Natty's not going to take the title from her because they're aligned. That's easy. That's a very easy story and doesn't hurt anyone. Um, Tag team division.
Hmm.
We spent quite a bit of time last week saying, okay, well, Raquel and Roxanne are over here and Liv's over here, and maybe they're going to do all the belts thing for Judgment Day. Um, Kind of a swerve, and I don't dislike it, at least on the tag team side. Um, but Raquel, which we'll get to, is going to be Stephanie Vicare's next challenger after lawn darting Nikki Bella, which was odd. Uh, but Liv and Roxanne are going to be the ones kind of in the tag division. Liv's kind of said, okay, you know what, Raquel, you go for the title. Me and Roxanne will win the tag titles. Very different from what we saw literally a week ago, where Liv handed the tag belts to Roxanne and Raquel. So I don't know if that was a last minute pivot or what, but I don't hate it.
I think it's the story they're telling where Raquel was supposed to take orders. Like Liv giving them the titles was Liv saying, I'm the boss. You guys go after the tag belts. I'm going to go after Stephanie. Raquel is like, yeah, you're old news. We do things our way now. I'm going to go after Stephanie myself. And I think that's the story. Because Raquel is going to lose to Stephanie, right? Like Stephanie's not going to lose the belt to Raquel. There's no way. So
And
they,
maybe that's it too, is they thought that, man, Stephanie's not that hot. The crowd might have wanted Liv to beat her. So that might have been the
yeah.
pivot.
So that's the other thing. Liv is really, really a hot commodity, right? She returned with a bang. People went crazy, social media. But nobody's going to want to cheer for Raquel beating Stephanie. So you can have Stephanie finally be a babyface where she gets beat up for a whole match and wins like a true babyface. And I think that Raquel has improved tremendously in the ring. I think they're going to have a really good match. And I think Stephanie Vacour needs a good wrestling match. Like, I am sorry, I know I'm going to offend, some of my friends, but other than her match with Io in the main roster, there hasn't been a Stephanie Vacour match that I've really cared for. You take the Io, if Io Sky did not exist in the the sphere of Stephanie McCourt, what is the great main roster match she's had?
Was there a good one with Roxanne at one point?
Okay, that match was in NXT, I believe. And you yourself said that you thought, for as good as they are, you thought the chemistry was a little wonky. In
No, yeah, I did. You're right.
so so the way I look at this is for Stephanie McCourt, who, like I said, there is no bigger fan of hers than me. But I think I'm falling into the trap that everybody else is falling into with her, which is we forget and we are conditioned not to even think about how great of a professional wrestler she is. We are now conditioned that she is a supermodel. And that's what they are selling. Like, hey, there is this gorgeous woman who's going to be the face of our company for Hispanic women, Hispanic, fans. And she might be the next Rey Mysterio. And look at how she walks the red carpet. Like she's great. She's a damn good wrestler. And I like to see that. And I think Raquel, I mean, this is going to sound like a shock coming out of my mouth. I think Raquel's been the better main roster professional wrestler than Stephanie has this year. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, so I really hope that they get time. I think Stephanie needs a strong win. And I think Stephanie needs to almost go to the agents and say, look, I need to recondition my audience that not my all my matches are the devil's kiss. And the reason I know that it's on her mind is she cut the promo, right? She said, I'm the best in the world, and it's not because of the devil's kiss. She needs to almost not do the devil's kiss, but the problem you run into is, are you gonna get booed? Because like that's the other problem. And she's a
Yeah,
big
I mean, um, she's just gotta have to do it. You know what I mean? They just gotta give her a defense, maybe on a smaller stage where she beats someone and, you know, maybe have who's a good chicken shit heel that they could have kind of piss her off mid-match, like literally like do something to piss her off 2 minutes into it and have her just buzzsaw that person for the next 5 minutes and just not do anything showy and just be physical and beat
oh,
her up.
or the story with Raquel is Raquel beats her up so badly she can't even have the strength to do it.
I mean, um, we'll see where that one goes. I think it's a good pairing. I look forward to what both of them can do. I think the Liv Roxanne stuff is going to be compelling. I don't love the way that they're booking the Kabuki Warriors now that they're champions. I think they've kind of iced Asuka as much as they could, which sucks. It's like how do they take someone who's so hot without a belt and then they get a belt and they just get immediately cold where they're not doing anything that's resonating with fans. I mean, we had Kyrie and like that whole thing, and it's just turned into
I mean, like Io winning the title
that's
at
what I'm saying. They do
defending
it
the
over and
title at
over
Mania.
again.
Uh,
Real quick, before we go to SmackDown, any extra thoughts on the Nikki Bella thing? A little weird, right?
what she got laid out?
Yeah, but I mean, almost laid out like in a way where it's like she's cutting this promo. Are they going to have her involved in this Raquel Stephanie thing? Do we think that she's going to be a thorn in their side, kind of like, hey, I'm still here, or because if not,
So,
that's kind of a burial.
so before I say my thoughts on Nikki Bella, I want to give this message to Nikki Bella for me. Nikki, I'm an Eagles fan. You're an Eagles fan. They are undefeated when you go to their games. So please, for the rest of the year, WWE not that important. We need you at every Eagles game. Okay. Now, back to this. I I got the sense that they're setting up a Brie Bella comeback.
Okay.
I'm getting the sense that maybe Nikki Bella's like, hey, I can't do this anymore by myself. I think if you put Nikki Bella in the match with Raquel and Stephanie, it's not what I want. And the reason I'm saying that is Nikki Bella needs to get some wins independent of facing the champ. Nikki Bella, I think Nikki Bella needs to almost, they need to do a storyline. This would be my story with Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella literally is talking to somebody behind like a screen. And it's gonna end up being Brie Bella, but we don't know that. And Nikki Bella almost beats enhancement talent every week for 2 months because she needs to get some wins. Like she fights local jobber person, beats them in 3 minutes. So Nikki Bella's like, this is who the hell I am. I'm Nikki Bella. I'm a Hall of Famer. Nikki Bella does not want a match. I cannot take her seriously as a threat to anybody. They need to start using enhancement talents in the WWE because everybody's afraid to beat every. Nikki Bella loses, so it's not like they have a problem pinning her. But she's lost to Becky. She's lost to Stephanie McCourt. Now, a lot of people could be like, oh my God, she lost to the two champs. What's the big deal? Well, she also lost to Roxanne. Like, who has she beaten? She hasn't beaten anybody. So I'd like to see them do a little bit of a freshen up with Nikki Bella, like where she's doubting herself and she goes back to being like kind of the vicious Bella, or a way to bring Brie Bella back is Brie Bella does the double magic, right? Like you do the twin magic. Like Nikki Bella starts winning matches because Brie interferes, and it's almost like she acknowledges there is no Brie. Like, what are you talking about? Brie is retired. She's not even here. Like something like that. But she just got laid out. I mean, she got laid out like a jabroni. Like she got
She
like
did.
a complete jobber. And I just think that Nikki Bella is too big a star, too big a talent to be leveraged as a jobber. She could really help the women who need it or get a rub.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't she, wouldn't you say in that company she's as big a women's star as they've ever had? If you factor in social media, reality TV, they got to use her
If
better.
you factor in name recognition, yeah. I'm not an expert at this. Wasn't she on Dancing with the Stars?
She
She
was
was.
married to a guy who was a dancer, like
That's
right?
that's that that's right. So I would say definitely yes, because that show alone has more reach than the WWE does, right? So she's more well known than just about anyone is going to be in wrestling. That includes Rhea Ripley. If you're just on the street, have you heard of Nikki Bella? Have you heard of Rhea Ripley? Like my mom might go, Nikki Bella was on Dancing with the Stars, right? My mom doesn't know who Rhea Ripley is, right? So,
Nikki
um,
Bella has hosted game shows. Nikki Bella has hosted shows with Blake Shelton. I mean, Nikki Bella's like a star, like a legit mainstream celebrity. Like she has cachet. They need to leverage her better. Speaking of Rhea Ripley, you segued there beautifully. So Rhea Ripley was on SmackDown this week. She main evented SmackDown, doing a favor to her Terror Twins buddy Damian Priest against Zelina Vega and Aleister Black. And I'm a huge Rhea Ripley fan. That match, the interactions her and Zelina had might have been the worst I've seen of Rhea Ripley in a long time. Like it was not good. But the interesting thing that came out of SmackDown to me was not that match. Was Rhea and Jade had a face-off, which is
yeah.
surprising because I never thought Rhea would be fighting Jade. If that's a legitimate path, does that mean Bianca is just out?
She she said in one of her kind of Q&As on Instagram that she's getting her finger fixed in, which could only kind of point to undergoing a surgery. I've got to say, you know, uh, injuries suck. And, Mercedes has had the heel, Bailey's had the knee, Charlotte's had the knee, Asuka's had the knee. Layla Gray just tore her ACL again last week. Prayers out to Layla Gray. Injuries happen. And I'm in no by no means am I like making it sound like it's not a major injury, but when it happened, you're like, oh, she broke a couple fingers, She broke a couple fingers. I think even she said, yeah, just got to get him healed up and I'll be back. I mean, obviously, grip strength is incredibly important. Um, So uh, it's a big deal to be able to take care of herself and everyone else in the ring. But yeah, it's a bummer. It seems like it's just not healing properly. So we definitely hope that Bianca's good to go. But it seems like she's not for the time being, for a little while longer than was expected for sure.
So,
Um,
what do you
Pivot to Jade Rhea. I don't know. I don't know where they have that match. I don't think that would be a Mania match for them. I think they'd want both of them to win. I think they want Jade to win a Mania match in this role. I do. If it's not losing to Bianca, I think they would pivot to her winning.
I want to give Jade some flowers here. I have been very hard on her as a wrestler, and she doesn't float my boat. She looks like $1 trillion. And if you could craft somebody out of, if you could sculpt somebody to like, and I mean this, Jade Cargill looks like a superstar. Like she passes every eye test you could think of. She's she's a beautiful woman that it almost like she doesn't look real. Like she looks like AI. I've never been the biggest fan of her in-ring work, but this Friday she won me over. I thought the work she did with Mia was so good because she's beating Mia to a pulp. The crowd's going crazy because you know, um, there's a table that Mia's trying to pull out, but Mia's getting beat up. So Jade's gonna pull it out. Jade's like, "No, you're cheering me. I'm a heel," and she put it back. And then she continued to beat Mia up, and I loved that. That's a real
Yeah,
heel. Like somebody taught Jade very well. Like, hey, don't appease the crowd. They're booing you. And I want to just give her a lot of flowers. I thought that was tremendous. I
great call out. Yeah,
love that she did that. I'm not enamored with the Mia Yim, B-Fab, Jade. It's something for Jade to do, I guess. And if it gives Mia a chance to showcase her skills, bravo. We know Mia has no chance of winning that feud, but at least she gets a title match, and that's good. I want to get your thoughts on the presentation before we get to kind of, our C Nation stuff. What are your thoughts about how the WWE has presented Lash Legend? Because I think that of all the call-ups, I can't think of somebody who I have been more happy with how they've presented her, including, by the way, Stephanie Vacour, Lash Legend. She's come in
yeah,
like a wrecking ball.
yeah. I mean, the one that top to mind, the greatest call up ever is Bianca, right? Main evented
Mhm.
WrestleMania within a year. But other than that, yeah, I think Lash Legend. Um, they're booking her to be a powerhouse, taking advantage of the unique skill set she has, the athleticism and everything. She did a lot of hard work down there in NXT. She's a good wrestler. Um, I thought, we talked about she was probably the best looking, probably got the best rub from being in War Games, right? Like if you watch that and you just said, stock up, stock down. Her stock was up the most from that match. And then, beating Alexa Bliss on SmackDown. And Alexa has been booked, B plus, A minus, since she's been back. Not everyone's out here beating her. Um, she just beat, who'd she beat?
Kyrie.
Kyrie. Well, I wish that meant something. It doesn't
Alexa
mean as much
Bliss
as
has
it
only
used
been
to.
pinned twice since she returned. That was
That's
the
what I was getting at.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
She's been booked very well, and so it's not nothing for Lash to beat her. So yeah, you know, Michin, you brought up Lash Legend. I want to get to an era where the holder of the Intercontinental title and the holder of the US title is someone who can go out there and have kind of what I explained what I want out of the AEW tag titles is like, okay, I get it. You only got 9 minutes for a match on TV, but there's a title involved. And if you let both competitors go do their thing, good matches, good TV matches can be had in 9 minutes, 11 minutes, especially for a mid card belt. It's not the worst thing in the world. And um, I don't, based on track record, I don't expect Lash Legend to hold the main belt anytime soon. But damn, I'd love to see her go on a killer run with that U.S. title. I think that could be a lot of fun. More likely, her and Nia probably win the tag titles, and that could be fun too.
I think that they have made Lash look incredible. I think Lash has earned it. I feel like I am a authority to speak to the Bliss Fits because I am one of them. But I got to tell you, I was very disappointed with how much vitriol the WWE got for Alexa losing that match. And I'm thinking, what? She has to lose. Lash has been destroying everybody, and Alexa should put up a good fight and lose. And they still
Right.
protected her, right? Because it was an interference thing, kind of. But Alexa Bliss, and I mean this, can afford a loss. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
She gets a
Yeah.
big, rousing pop every time she comes out. She sells a lot of merchandise. She's a big star. She makes a lot of money. And I think Alexa Bliss is starting to understand that putting people over, making them look good is a gift as well. And I was very proud of, what she's been doing since she's returned. I'm a fan. But her fans just lost it. And I was like, what are they doing? Like, are they mad at, like, nobody expected. I thought Alexa was going to lose without interference. Like, I thought it was going to be clean, where they were going to be like, Lash is, on the rise. So, yeah, that's kind of, what are your thoughts quickly on that?
Now, I mean, Alexa's probably been booked better this year than she has in almost every year of her career, sans, you know, certainly 2017 and 18. 16, she was pretty strong on the SmackDown side, but and I'm not saying not deservedly so. It all depends on what story they're trying to tell with her and Charlotte, which I am getting a little murkier on what that looks like, but um, or the when. But no, I don't think it hurts her to lose to Lash Legend. Lash is being booked, you know, Braun Breaker esque on the men's side, and I think Braun Breaker beat Sammy's ass like 3 or 4 times last year. So Alexa fans, Sammy did some really great things after Braun threw him around the ring a couple times. So it's kind of a similar spot. Sometimes when you have the rookie call up that they want to be a big deal right away, it's a compliment that they think beating Alexa makes Lash a bigger deal.
Yeah. So, that was kind of the recap of SmackDown. NXT, they have you have the New Year's Evil match, which I think it's going to be Kendall Gray against JC Jane, and I think Kendall Gray is going to beat her for the title. It feels like they're going to attach a rocket to Kendall, and they should. And Blake Monroe is going to fight, I believe, Thea Hale. So those are kind of the matches that NXT is setting up in the new year. But let's get right to it. Let's get to the biggest story in professional wrestling this year, bar none. And it's a story that is a little bit closer to me than you, just because then I will share my story, which everybody wants to hear. So last night, Washington, D.C., 19,500 people attended the largest arena show in wrestling history in the United States. $4.4 million of revenue. That's a lot of money.
Crazy.
That's a lot of money. To see John Cena's final match against the Ring General in Gunther. And so, before I get to my personal experiences with John Cena and why I hold him in a little bit of a different category than maybe most in terms of how he is as a professional wrestler, let's get right to it. This ending is very controversial. It has over 40,000 dislikes on the WWE YouTube page. And the ending, for the spoiler for those who did not watch it, is the man who says never give up, that's been his mantra for 20 plus years, gave up. He
Yep.
tapped out to Gunther after valiantly fighting, but he tapped out. and people were not happy. Their vitriol was aimed at Triple H. Vitriol was aimed at the company. Gunther needed security to leave the building because people were swearing at him. There are a lot of people who said they are not going to be WWE fans anymore. There are a lot of people who cried because their childhood hero lost. There are a lot of people who chanted AEW to Triple H because he didn't give them what they wanted. So let's get right to it with your thoughts here. Your thoughts on the result. Was it the right result? And why do you think there's such vitriol and do you think they're justified?
So my original thought was these people are crazy. Of course he wasn't going to win. My original thought was giving no quarter to the idea that he should have won. Like you and I texted, it was, have you watched wrestling for the last 100 years? Of
Mhm.
course he lost. Now, I've come around to the idea that the WWE created a special set of circumstances and they backed themselves into a corner because they had Cena obsessed, and that's a compliment, the most obsessed Cena fans in the world paying more than every single person who paid for a ticket to this show probably paid a higher value ticket price than they had ever spent unless they went to a WrestleMania. So under that backdrop, I get the anger because the people in arena spent a lot of money and they wanted to go home happy. That being said, I will stand by my thought that though I understand the anger, it was still the right decision. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. You can't, wrestling is fake, guys. It's theater, it's art. Actually, I apologize. I hate when people say wrestling's fake. Wrestling's scripted. The performers put themselves in danger. It's very difficult. It's very hard, but it is scripted. If you have an actor who's not going to be on your TV show anymore, it's usually because they die, right? Game of Thrones, right? Like, and Ned Stark ain't here no more because he's gone. In wrestling, especially the top baby face, you have to have someone beat him, and you want the fans to hate that person. That's the game. Gunther's perfect for this. That's the game because you can create. You probably don't get to create another John Cena, but you can create four that have about 70%, 75% of the love that John Cena has, and that will add and make your show big still. And if you're very lucky, maybe you do create another John Cena, whoever takes Gunther out. That's the game. John Cena is so irreplaceable. If they let him go out on a high note, they would essentially tell you our show will never be as good as this was ever again. They can't play that card. They've got business to do. And you the suspension of disbelief is that we have to trust we will care about somebody as much as we all just cared about John Cena. And it's up to them to create that. But that ain't ever happening if he goes out winning. It's just not.
So that's actually so me and Brock 316 were chatting about this on X and Brock has been a wrestling fan as long as we have. So he does not come from an era of the new modern cinema, the moment, the TikTok culture. He's about, hey, Ricky Steamboat, Larynx, getting his win, all that stuff. But he did say something about the cost and the price and all that. And then it hit me on who's to blame here. And who's to blame here is Triple H himself. Triple H is to blame because he conditioned his fan base for 2 years to only care about the big moment. That the
Mm-hmm.
story doesn't matter, the leading up to the story doesn't matter, the moment. Even my favorite match of this year for WWE was, the triple threat. I feel like that match was a moment, but the story leading up to the match was nothing great. It was very confusing. Well, this is the same thing, right? He has conditioned a fan base to only care about the moment, and then he didn't give them the moment, and now he's wondering why they're so mad at him. Well, the moment he gave them is not what they paid for. They paid for, I want to see my hero win. I did not pay to see him lose so you can end up making somebody in 4 years. That's how a normal wrestling fan who grew up in the era we grew up in wrestling would think. They're like, okay, we get it. He's going to, he's going to lose to Gunther. Gunther is going to be the nastiest, biggest, baddest heel ever. And the next babyface is going to beat him. And we're going to get behind that next babyface. And that's
Yep.
the story. Nobody cares anymore. So I'm gonna before I go into my actual personal experience with John Cena, I will give you a story that you didn't even know I had until right now. I know somebody who went to last night, lives in El Paso, has been a listener of our show since episode one. Okay, him, Michael, and his lovely wife Victoria. She got him the tickets to this. She paid $4,800 a ticket. A ticket. Now remember, I live in El Paso, guys. So unless they have a private jet that they have not loaned me that I am not aware of, they had to fly. It ain't cheap.
Right.
They also had to get a hotel and get a
Right.
car. Like these are costs, right? So all in $11,000. His
Ooh.
dentist wife said, "You know what? This is my husband of a year plus. This is his hero. He is going to cry when this man retires. He cried when he announced his retirement in Toronto. So I'm going to do this for my husband. We're going to go." And she is not a wrestling fan. She doesn't know anything about it. She said, you thought his dog died. That's how mad he was that they butchered his retirement. So that's the other part here that you could justify him winning last night, which I think would have been the worst decision. They ruined his retirement with the heel turn. They ruined it with that Rock story. So you got 6 months of nonsense with his retirement.
Yep.
So now he loses to Brock in 8 minutes, which everybody hated. And now, in his last match, he loses this match, but he should have lost. Like I was telling Michael, he had to lose. Like, I'm sorry. I know. Hey, look, I am not going to sit here and criticize anybody who spent $10,000 and they were mad. You know what? If you spent $10,000 and you didn't get the ending you wanted, you have every right to complain. I will not fight you because I have
Yeah.
never spent $10,000 on wrestling, right? So
Right.
my point though is he has conditioned his own fan base to care about the moment, and the moment they wanted was Cena winning and going off into the sunset. And then what they would do as a fan base is not even remember Gunther was not supposed to be beat, and they'll go move on to the next week. That's what they wanted, and he didn't give it to them. So
Yeah.
even though I vehemently disagree with this, Brock made me see that side that you know what, maybe the business has passed us by, Billy. Maybe he should have won. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Here's the thing. When we say that he should lose, I will also double, triple down that Triple H is a shitty booker. And he ruined this whole thing. He didn't ruin it last night. He ruined it from Jump Street, really. John Cena announces his retirement. He's got 32 dates left. You build climb to the 17th title, put obstacles in his way, have him win the title, and defend it for a little bit, and then you have him lose on his last night. And everyone would have been so much more happy because they
Mhm.
would have gotten more of like Styles stuff that they got, that everyone was very happy with that match, right? If
And
if
the
if it
Punk.
was Punk Styles, if that was the whole thing, and he didn't win the title, he didn't do the heel turn, and he didn't win the title till SummerSlam, and then he defended it a couple times and dropped it to Gunther last night. Peace. And you know what else? If he had the title, no one would have spent $11,000 thinking he was going to win. They would have known they were going to watch him lose, and they would have made peace with it when they bought the tickets.
Yeah.
And they still would have spent $11,000. But Triple H is a bad booker who books for moments. He's he's actually turned into the guy who's thinking, 1 month ahead. He's told us that it's a new era of WWE 6 times this year. Well, maybe to Triple H, an era is a month and a half. Maybe he's telling the truth.
Well,
You know,
he's in his new
6 weeks
new
is an
era.
era.
Yeah.
He's in his new era. And like, so before you tell your story real quick, I just think that the amount of people that watched, the amount of money that was spent, it was just the most cowardly, you know, you got this chance to make Obafemi like he's so impressive, right? He's
Yeah.
so impressive. And all you got to do is just let him be impressive and just
Win.
let it just let him win and just let him beat Cody, let him beat Drew McIntyre. He's got the NXT title. He ain't going to show up again in WWE till the Rumble. And when he comes into the Rumble, people should be like, "Oh my god, he might win. He's that good." And he even just, the dude is just beige. Everything is beige. He can't pick a side. It's just beige. He just, the most boring version of an outcome is what he often picks. And I'm not backstage. I don't know. But Bailey and Soul had a really, really good match. And I just, you know, Bailey, God bless her soul. I just never see Bailey being the type of person, winning or losing, who wants it to be so vanilla beige, whatever you want to call it. So of course she's the one who took the clean pin last night, right? Of course she is. Main
Yeah.
roster. She's like, "Yep, I'm why are we doing this if I'm gonna why are we doing this except for her to beat me?"
She and Sol Roca did a great Bianca Belair Sasha Banks impersonation, which is Sol, you're going to get 97% of the offense and you're going to win the match.
She
Because
made
this,
the finisher look natural. It was very
yeah.
good.
Now, okay, you talk about Triple H and his beige. I do have a problem with this match. I have one nitpick with Sol Roca and Bailey. Why didn't Bailey just get pinned with the Soul Snatcher? Why did they do that? She rolls under the ropes, then she got reversed. Like, just let her take the pin to the Soul Snatcher. That would have been the
Yeah,
better
I know.
statement, right? So, um, I think when we talk about historical context about where John Cena ranks all time, I don't know if he can be lower than five. And if you want to put him higher than that, you have every right to. So before I get to my story, just quick statistics. He's been the top person for about legitimately, I would say, 13 years. He was then also the top person in the I'm coming back for a couple of months person. So 20 years, he was pretty much the top guy in the industry. He was 7 years consecutive number one, which I think per the newsletter, only Bruno did.
Right.
He's not the peak of Austin and Rock or even Hogan, but he has better matches than Hogan, and he had a
Mm-hmm.
longer longevity than Austin and Rock.
Yep.
So he to me is on the Mount Rushmore of WWE stars of all time. In the modern era, he is of course there. It's Hogan, Austin, Rock, him. Now I know, your dad knows about Bruno Sammartino. I'm not that old, but I know Bruno is the biggest draw maybe ever. But I can't speak to that because I wasn't around. But okay, if you want to put Bruno on, then honestly, I'm gonna have to probably take the Rock off because he was not the guy. Austin was the guy, and then he went away. So Cena, it belongs in these historical, and I this is my compliment of Cena before I get to my story. He's the greatest bad wrestler of all time. He's the greatest bad wrestler of all time. He is awkward. He is not athletic. He calls his matches like he's Jimmy Hart with a megaphone, and he was doing it against Gunther, and it was annoying me. It's like, oh my God, your last match, you can't just let Gunther call it. And he's like, okay, he goes, chop, chop. Well, he's doing it. Okay. That being said, I did not know the power of this man until last night. I saw people who I didn't even know like wrestling tweet about it. Why did he lose? He's the last superhero. Okay, he's a big deal. I did not know that. Let me get to my story.
I did hate him tapping out. I didn't get to say that. I hated him tapping out, and I hated him tapping out with a smug look on his face. But
Somebody justified that. They're like, he's at peace. I was
so
like,
stupid.
I
It's
thought
an
he should have
athletic competition. You're
passed out.
trying to win.
I thought he should have passed out. I thought he
I
should have
thought he
passed.
should have passed out too. And then he would have never given up.
Right.
But he
That's
gave up.
exactly. Again, some poor booking. Let me get to my story now. So, I have often on this show spoke about a friend of mine who worked in the WWE for 2 decades, and this individual, when that person was starting out their career in WWE, there used to be a WWE Canada office. This is 2005 now. At the same time, my sister and her husband started their magazine called Urbanology Magazine. I didn't think there was a great representation of professional wrestling in these magazines because you got to think, 04, 05, wrestling wasn't exactly like mainstream then. It kind of died with the Austin era and the Rock era. Okay. So I get a phone call from this person and they said, "Hey, we got a copy of your Urbanology magazine and it's sharp looking. It's really good. Like, um, can we establish a partnership where, you cover wrestling a month, I'll give you access, I'll give you free pay." This is the time, by the way, where you have to get a code from them for free pay-per-views so you can give it to your cable company. Like that's how far back I'm going here. So I'm doing this. I'm doing this, and she calls me and she says, "Look, John Cena's making a rap album." I'm like, "What? He's doing a what did you say?" "He's making a rap album." I said, "Okay, like this is like I didn't know if this was like a gimmick. Or no, he's like, no, he is financing it himself. He has real producers on it, he has real rappers on it. Like this is real. This is a passion project of his." Okay. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do we want? And this person goes, "Look, I want you to do a story on him about his rap career. I don't really want you to cover wrestling in your article. Like when you write about it, I want you to cover a little bit of wrestling, but talk about his influences, how he got into hip hop, what was his upbringing, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, okay, cool. So now, I go to my sister. My sister is the boss and she owned the magazine with her husband. And I said, "Look, I want to do this story." She's like, "Okay, cool. I don't know if I can guarantee the cover, but go ahead." So now we go to this warehouse. And now he's supposed to come with Trademark. Trademark, by the way, for everybody who doesn't know, he's the other guy in this rap song. Time is now. He's the
Yeah.
second guy. So we go to the warehouse, and like any celebrity, they show up a little bit late. Like 20 minutes, not a big deal. They called me. They're like, "Hey, we're a little running late." Okay, cool. So me and my friend, who's the photographer, are sitting there like thinking, okay, how are we going to interview this guy? What are we going to ask him? He walks over to us. This is John Cena. Now, by the way, he already won the WWE title. He was a marquee guy at WrestleMania. He's their face now. He already became the guy on Raw, etc. So this is like July 2005. He comes over to us. He goes, "Hey, can you guys settle an argument for me and Trademark?" We're like, "Okay, what's up?" He's like, "Who do you like better, Tribe Called Quest or De La Soul?" You're like, "What?" "Okay, hey, let's play ball. I like Tribe better. What do you think?" "Oh, okay." And then we literally started to have a conversation before the tape recorder went on about music. "Okay, how did you get into it?" "Oh, my first album was LL. Oh, my first album was NWA." Like we went on and we talked for about an hour before we even did the interview. And to the point where my person who set the interview up, they're like, hey, you guys are taking too long. Like, let's go here. Like, we got things for him to do. Okay, so now we put the tape recorder on, we do it, we do the interview, and it's good and it went well. And he came up to us and he goes, what are you guys doing after? And we're like, you're asking us? We're like, well, what do you want us to do? Like, what am I going to do? Say no? Of course. It's like John Cena. Like, he wants to do something. He's like, I said, well, we're going to a Souls of Mischief concert because we got to cover them for the magazine. He's like, Souls of Mischief? They're in town? I'm like, yeah. He's like, they're my boys. Do you know I wore their shirt on SmackDown? I said, yeah, I remember that. You wore their hat too. He goes, yeah, yeah. He goes, they're in town. They're in Toronto. I said, yeah, they're performing at the Phoenix. He goes, let's go. I'm like, you want to roll with us? He's like, no, you roll with us. Like you and your friend, I'm in my SUV. I got a security guard. I got a bodyguard. I got a driver. Let's go. And the person who set this up is like, whoa, John, we got stuff for you to do. Like, no, this is not part of the plan. Like, he's like, I don't care. These guys are cool. I want to hang out with them. We're like, okay, hey, what am I going to do? What are we going to say? No. So now we strike up like a rapport, hip
Yeah.
hop, culture. But I gotta say, so we went to the concert. He knows the band, he's friends with them, and then afterwards he's like, "Let's all go out to a club." What club is hot in Toronto? We're like, "Well, the Government." It's like, okay, let's go to the Government. So now we go to VI. He's John Cena, he gets VIP. He's John Cena. I've never felt so inconsequential in my life because there was a line of like 50 women who wanted to see him and not one of them cared about me. And I was single at the time. I just want to point that out. Like, not they didn't care about us. They're like, oh my God, your muscles are so big. And that was like the first time I really saw, oh, okay, this guy's a big deal. Like, he's going to be a big star. And, over those 3 days, we talked a lot about music. We talked a lot about what he wants to accomplish in his wrestling career. And it's funny because everything he told me 20 years ago, he did it and then some. He wanted to be in movies. He wanted to be in Hollywood. He wanted to be mainstream. He always had a plan for being a bigger star than just WWE, but he always loved WWE, which you could tell still. I'm going to say this. I've interviewed a lot of famous people. He is by far the nicest person I have ever interviewed who is famous. He was super nice to me. He was super nice to my friend. He took care of us. He bought the drinks. He drove us around. He treated us like friends. And I can never say a bad word about John Cena because I always say the character of a person is how they treat you. And maybe he has changed and maybe he's not the same guy. Maybe he wouldn't even remember me from 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, he was a humble West Newbury, Massachusetts, just became WWE champion who wants to be, who was into muscle cars and all that stuff. And I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great, 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 great um, you know, person. So that's my story. And I know we're about to wrap up here. Did you have a chance to do our top five?
I can, so full transparency to everybody. We were originally going to do a top five. We talked about, the best women moments with women and John Cena, based on how cool Survivor Series was. Full transparency. There's not five. There's not five that we would feel, are proud for the women's wrestling side of things. And then from there, it was a great idea. Who are the top five women who could sit in John Cena's chair, essentially? And, there's no replacing John Cena, but who could reach the mountaintop? Um, and yes, I do have a top five.
All right. So I kind of told my John Cena story. So I will let you give your five and then I'll give my five and we can wrap for the week.
You want me to go just all the way through the
Yeah.
five?
Yeah, go through
Cool.
it.
You know, it is pretty straightforward. Um, I have one, I probably have one dart throw on here, and then everyone else has a basis to be established at this level. So let me get my notes open. My dart throw is not currently, oh, and I kept this to baby faces only. So when
Mhm.
we're saying John Cena, top of the thing as a baby face. My number five is the dart throw. She's not currently a baby face. I love the baby face upside that exists within this person. And that's Kalani Jordan. I think
Okay.
she's a naturally gifted wrestler. Um, I almost put Sol Roca here, and I just get a Jeff Hardy vibe more so from her, and I know that that's kind of the same thing because Jeff Hardy was the top baby face. But so Sol's my honorable mention. Kalani is my number five. Um, my number four is actually Mercedes. I put Mercedes as number four because I think that they're really gonna have to thread the needle for it to happen in AEW. I think it's possible. Um, and I think it's more possible if she goes back to WWE on the babyface side of things. Um, but I don't know that she's going back to WWE, so that pulled the ranking down low. But the star power is already there in a way where it's like a couple things would have to come together. It's not that crazy of a thought. My number three is actually the most likely person to reach this stature on the AEW side of things is Willow Nightingale. I think Willow has an effervescence about her that people are naturally drawn to. I think with the right story told. Um, in fact, there's a version of the world where Mercedes ends up getting the AEW title if they were to ever do it, where she's a heel and Willow, because Willow's not dethroning her for the TBS title. We get that story for the world title. That could be a huge deal. My number two and my number one are boring, but it's just about being right, not about being spicy. And I think they're very, very um, straightforward answers. And um, it's, and it just dawned on me that I totally left Bianca off of this. And that was just an omission because we miss her. She should probably be on this list if I'm being fair. But I have Io at number two and I have Rhea at number one. And I just felt stupid coming up with anything different because they're so close right now. Rhea's number one. I think Rhea is going to get 10 years to try. Io is more tenuous. If Io went on like a 6 month bad run where she was getting different reactions from the crowd, she could fall down the ladder a little bit. Rhea's not falling down the ladder. She'll get every opportunity to be the top baby face in WWE for a decade. So, um, Rhea was easy. Io, I felt like she was so over 6 months ago. When she was the champion with the crazy thing. Um, they continue to say she's the greatest women's wrestler in the world, and she's one of the top baby faces on a crowd that is rabidly happy to be in the arena every single time they're there, which is why I put the WWE women ahead of the AEW women because that crowd is easier to please and easier to just get one saying, one look, one t-shirt over in a way that you become the top person for a long period of time. So, uh, list was last minute because we changed our direction, but I think it's still a good list. And I think the right answer is somewhere of those seven people I named. And my apologies to Bianca and her fans. She's just as likely as any of the people that I named.
So the my honorable mentions are two women who you did mention on your list. Bianca Belair was one, and the only reason she wasn't on my list is I just have to think about the way that this business is sexist towards women and with her
Mm-hmm.
age. Like, is she gonna get 10 years into her late 40s as the top person, right? So I
Right.
had to take her out of it. Mercedes Monet would have actually been my number one, if you ask me in 2017. And the reason I know this is again, let's go back to my person who set up that John Cena interview in 2005. We had a conversation in 2017 when Mercedes was booked into the toilet. She was just, it was terrible. She was losing, let Alicia Fox, like it was just awful stuff. And I said to her, I said, what happened with Mercedes? Like, or Sasha Banks? Like, what happened? I said, Vince thought he had the next John Cena in Bailey, but he always had the next John Cena in Mercedes. He just didn't realize it.
Yep.
Like, he didn't realize it that she was so hot as a baby face that if he had just put the machine behind her, she could have got there. In 2017, in their own yearbook, they put Sasha Banks and John Cena as the most popular. Marketing used to put John Cena and Sasha Banks on all um marketing like flyer, not flyers, but posters and press
Yeah.
releases. We put those two together because they looked at her in marketing. They did see the next John Cena in Sasha Banks. Vince
And that's why I had her too. She's shown
Vince
to be
McMahon did.
capable.
Vince McMahon didn't. So I hope you're right that she gets to fulfill that destiny. I just don't know if it's too late now.
Right.
But she was in my honorable mention. Okay, so number 5 is Willow Nightingale. Willow is very hard to hate. You just can't hate. Like, there's nothing about Willow that you can hate. She's just such a likable person, and she has this infectious smile, and she's like the every woman. And I feel like that's what John Cena was, like the every guy. Jean shorts, white t-shirt, and
If we took look into it, that every person and not just being the top baby face, she might, she's probably the one, right?
number 4, this one is a shocker. This is a upset pick, but I want everybody to think a little deeper. Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton is an Olympian,
Yeah.
right? She is an all-American girl. She has the look. Think about John Cena. Did anybody think John Cena would be John Cena when he came out and said ruthless aggression? Did anybody
No.
think he would be John Cena when he came out and was, misogynistic and racist in his promos, like calling Eddie Guerrero a wetback? Did anybody think that guy was going to be the face of not only the WWE, but the voice of Honda? No. So again, Tiffany is so young that she has enough tools that if they push her in the right areas and they polish her up, I think she has a chance. My number 3 is actually your number 5. I'm higher on her than you are. No, I'm higher on her on this list, but I think you're higher on her as her ceiling.
I bought the stock
You
immediately.
did. Kalani Jordan, I see as a person who I could see her doing 100 make-a-wishes. Like I could see her being that person for WWE where she's in the hospitals with the sick kids and she talks about her journey and a college athlete and all that. So Kalani
Yep.
Jordan is my number 3. I am shocked you did not put my number 2 because my number 2 could have been my number 1, but my number 2 is not Io. And everybody's like, what? You didn't pick Io? Io didn't even make my list. Kendall Gray. Kendall Gray is my number 2 because you know why? Because John Cena himself sees himself in Kendall Gray. That's why he put her in that tournament, and then she ended up winning the Iron Survivor. So I look at Kendall Gray, All American girl. Yeah.
I'm wrong. I was wrong. That's a miss.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
miss.
so I think Kendall
I'm on
Gray,
vacation.
Kendall Gray to me, I think could be the next John Cena. She's young enough. She has all of the skills, and the number 1 is the obvious number 1. The number 1 you had, the number 1 I had is there is not a single professional wrestler in any company to me that has the ceiling of Rhea Ripley. In the same way John Cena had kids wanting to make a wish to meet him, I think women are going to make a wish to want to meet Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is just cool. She's just cool, right? Like she's gonna be so many young girls' heroes when they get to 15, 16, 20. She's herself. She looks amazing, but she doesn't care about her 900,000 tattoos. She's into the music she likes. Like she's herself. And she wasn't always that way. She became that. And I think that John Cena, now a lot of people can say John Cena has become almost too corporate. Like he went away from what made him John Cena. But I believe that Rhea Ripley has a chance to have the next 10 years where she is the dominant player in wrestling if the company gives her the ball.
No, totally agree. Kendall Gray was a miss on my side. Rhea's the easy number one. It's funny, you didn't have EO on your list. I definitely, I definitely related it who's got there most closely in the past. But I think you nailed it. I mean, uh, if y'all aren't ready for it, Kendall Gray is probably going to dominate conversation, booking, the scene over the next 2 years. I mean, we're about to get a Kurt Angle level explosion. And frankly, from what I've seen in the ring, there's no reason not to.
Mhm.
Um, she wrestles with a Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné like level of detail in her work. And the reason I said Sasha Banks first was because it was always striking to you, to me, to all of us when she was 22 and 23, the detail that was already there. Well, that's Kendall Gray right now. She's young, new to the game. Little things like had her arm worked on earlier in the match. So what's she doing? She's holding the arm close to her ribs while she's running the freaking ropes. Like who does that, right? Like you've got some of the people who are the greatest wrestlers in the world that forget to sell while they're running. You know what I mean? Like she's just that good and I think she has the look, she has the background, the marketability. So I think you nailed that one. If it's not Rhea, it's going to be Kendall.
Yeah, the reason I didn't pick Io is because of language barrier. I just don't
Yeah.
think you can be John Cena because how many international stars who don't have that command of the English language have been the biggest stars? So to me, that's and again, and I think EO is the best wrestler in the world, but like I just am being realistic about this. And Rhea Ripley to me, I would have loved, and I know, we gotta wrap here, but I would have loved for some point in the John Cena retirement for him to have an interaction with Rhea Ripley. Like
Yeah.
even if it was Rhea Ripley giving him her finishing move. Like something because again, the greatest what if that didn't happen would have been the match that was supposed to be on the books for SummerSlam before SummerSlam 2021, which was John Cena and Bianca Belair against Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks, which was the main event of the SmackDown prior to SummerSlam, but because of the mysterious whatever happened with Mercedes, they took that off the board. But I saw proof that this was going to be the match. So I would have loved to see that match because then that would have told me these are the two women of the future for this company. And I just didn't think they used, like, I thought Cena did a great job with Roxanne and Raquel and
And
Liv,
Liv.
but I
Yeah.
just felt like you lost an opportunity with Rhea Ripley because
Agreed.
Rhea Ripley is supposed to be the next person. But you know what? Again, we're signing off here. We'll be back kind of on our normal um, process next week, which is exclusively about women's wrestling. But again, to somebody who was very nice to me when I had a chance to spend 3 days with him in 2005, somebody whose hat I also caught when I was a fan in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and he threw it in the crowd, and I jumped up and I caught it. And to somebody who, my now ex-wife has chauffeured from El Paso to Las Cruces with when he was dating Nikki Bella. She was the one who drove the SUV to his tour bus, which was set up in Las Cruces. He's always been somebody who's been good to me. So I don't have a bad thing to say about him, and I wish him well in retirement. And I think what I hope WWE does is not rely on one person going forward, and they rely on multiple stars. Because I think when you rely on one person the way they did for those 7 years, the numbers showed when he wasn't around how bad it was, and I don't think you want to do that. So that's kind of my closing statements about, the doctor of thugonomics.
I can't really add anything great to that other than to say, you got a Mount Rushmore level person who just retired. He did pave a new way for retiring. I think that's the first time that we ever kind of had a retirement tour like that. That's kind of a basketball thing. I don't know if it was a good thing. I don't, maybe he gave everyone too much runway. Triple H certainly didn't make the best of it. I think nobody's going to argue with that. No one, whether you think last night was right, no one thinks the whole thing went well. But I don't know that that was John Cena's fault. And he gave a lot to wrestling. I do appreciate that he tried to give the rub to as many people as he could on his way out the door. That's the way it's supposed to go. And my closing thought is this: I want it to be true. He's the type of guy I don't want to see him take like a Saudi huge payday for WrestleMania 50 or 45 or whatever. You know
Right.
what I mean? I think he should be the guy that does it. He should not wrestle again. So I hope he sticks to it.
Yeah.
And so thank you for an illustrious year or 20 plus years and everything he gave to wrestling, John Cena.
All right. And we will be back on our schedule next week. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.